Hey everyone, welcome to Dire Bear Adventuring Company. I am your host and DM, Heath. We have tonight with me Maddie, who is playing Nara, our doctor, Atlas, who is playing Tane, our marine, V, who is playing Quentin, our navigator, and Jason, who is playing our long-suffering but very diligent ensign Skippy. Who is really at the core of it all. Probably going to be the hero of this story, as everybody else just whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the time where Skippy enacts his plan to just take all of the stuff from the colony, leave everybody on that stupid planet because they're all dumb.
So my plan is to found my empire and be Emperor Skippy.
I like it. Oh, by the way, I am not feeling well. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm still recovering from this weekend, and I sure as hell hope I make it until next weekend, because this coming weekend, Wizards of the Coast is releasing their crossover with Magic the Gathering for Ravnica, which is going to be fantastic. But that means that Friday night I'm running a game. Saturday I'm working a convention at Hamacon, the mini-con. Saturday evening I'll be back running at least one, but possibly two more games at Lucky Dice. And then on Sunday I'll be there running 2 games for the new crossover. So, if you're in the North Alabama area and you'd like to play Ravnica with one of the fantastic DMs, most fantastic DMs you've ever heard of, come out to Lucky Dice and I will happily put you through the paces. I am limiting the table size to 6. After having 10 people at a table, that killed me. And I realized that while I could have done that when I was younger, I'm not younger anymore. But there will be plenty of opportunity to play while I'm not there Saturday morning. I do know that Brandy will be running a game. She is one of the co-owners by proxy. I don't know, whatever. But they will be running a game on Saturday morning. If you're so inclined, you should come out to the Hamacon Mini-Con, play a game with me of Tharoon's Traveling Theater, which is a lot of fun, and I have my 3D terrain. I got to display it at the last convention. Unfortunately, I had 4 players when it was all said and done throughout the whole entire weekend. But I did get to play with the guys from the Pathfinder Society that camp out at Lucky Dice a lot, and they had a blast, to the point where they bought me a cup of coffee and just gave me praises, and it made me feel good about what a great player I am. So it really boosted my morale. So I was really glad to see that. And I know they're not watching, but just a big shout out to Michael L., Nick, and Haley, who entertained me while I was there Saturday with not much to do. But enough about all that. You guys came to watch some of this craziness that we do here on Wednesday nights. Not hear me prattle on about what I got going on. So, when last we left off, our party was still mostly divided. The captain had found a new strange device that asked for a name. Asked to actually name your new god. Gave it the name of a god of chaos and destruction from the Egyptian past. When asked what its role was, its mission, the captain, and for some reason, said to help us conquer this planet. Good old imperialists. Anyways, at the same time, Tane was entertained by a small group of individuals. They are one of them, who kept referring to himself in the third person, or the whole group of them. We're not entirely sure. But either way, it was entertaining whenever the group finally caught up with Tane. And they explored the large realm underneath this mountain range, this gigantic cavern, wherein they found a part of a downed ship or station that was marked with the NWC logo. They found some data pads. They were unable to actually powered up for very long. But what brief glimpse they gave, though, and what they saw, gave them the date of 1983. Long before the foundation of the NWEC, long before they had FTL travel, long before they had actually like a lot of the technology that we have even today. So it was a conundrum. How did this thing get the date of 1983? That shouldn't be possible. So with excuse me, Skippy sliding down there with Tridemus and Praetor, if I'm not mistaken. Did you have both of the robots with you?
Because of the interference.
Oh, that's right. The Praetor's back at the ship with the other guys. Right. But Tridemus and Skippy made their way down into the tunnels underneath the mountain range, where they started tracing after the rope. When we left, did you pick a path, or were you actually following the hapless adventurers who wandered off after these crazy new creatures they found?
We had followed the rope till it ended. We continued forward.
You were at a road. You only had one choice because it was like this. And you could only go one direction from there.
Okay.
And so
Yeah,
you
we
were
keep
following that pathway. All right. And Nara, poor Nara, gets to sit in her office and do her thing. And hopefully Pelka will wake up at some point in time in our life. But with all of that and a recap done, we will go ahead and dive into tonight's episode of Alone in the Void. We'll start with Skippy. The nearly perfect path, this tunnel that you've been traveling down, from up ahead of you, you hear faint voices. They seem to be speaking what little bit you can catch here and there. They seem to be speaking English. Or at least the English that you know.
Good, and we follow the right way.
Tridemus looks at you and says, "Yes, I believe we have. Although I should warn you, I'm not sure what's down here. I would be concerned for you."
They don't sound like they're screaming. I think it's all right.
True. This is very true. No. After you, then? Or shall I lead the way?
Yeah, go ahead and take point.
Certainly. And he strides off ahead of you. Quentin, the data pad won't power on. You got a brief boot up screen posting a date, and then it powered down, but you're not quite sure what you read was accurate.
Okay. Well, I know at one point we have to get this back to the colony, otherwise we're not going to find out any more information. I'm still curious about the ship. We didn't explore very much of it. We've only explored like a little bit of it. But I don't think everybody can fit in, right? Just because the doors are sort of like pried open.
Ask that again. Was the door pried open?
The door was pried open, so I don't think technically everybody would fit, right? Or could it be pried open more?
You could pry it open some more. I mean, it's going to take some muscle, but you have Marines with you.
Most of them.
You're in the right group for muscle.
I'm in the right group to pry open doors.
Gonna take some muscle.
Oh, no, what a...
Looking at you, Marine.
Me? What?
You have half a platoon of muscle with you.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, I guess we could pry the door open with that. I mean, yeah.
All right, beefcakes, line up. You too, Beth. All right. So yeah, you guys can pry it open enough to where you can all climb into the.
Just because I feel like I wouldn't be allowed to go by myself.
No.
Yeah, probably not.
Yes, maybe not. Oh God, Just because I know the ship is like completely twisted and torn around, so
Yeah, it's definitely busted up.
it's busted, it's broken. Poor ship. I do
So,
want to look around it more.
do you remember the name of the alien race? I'm just curious.
They called themselves it. I'm sorry, I woke up not too long ago.
What's okay? Quobble.
Kobo.
Oh yeah.
Quobble.
I'm gonna write that down right now. I'm gonna be a good noodle. For once in my life.
How do you spell
The
that?
captain would be proud.
Quoble.
See, I was not going that direction. I don't even have a pen.
Quoble. Almost like the word quabble.
Quabble.
Or noble.
Like a video game. Not a video game. Yeah. Well,
So, I need a just give me a athletics there, Marini. Go ahead and give yourself a +3 since you have some extra added muscles.
My buddies.
Your muscles.
just suck them in. Release them after, like Kirby. There.
Okay.
Like Kirby.
Like Kirby.
You guys work at it, and it takes a few minutes. It's definitely rusted metal, and so it slides open with a squelch and a squeal, and it's big enough now that you guys can all fit in there. It's not completely open, but it's much more than what it was.
Spicy.
As you make this noise, you watch as the one that's been talking and his compatriots kind of like take their long, spindly arms and put it over their head.
Oh.
The noise itself echoes throughout the cavern, just bouncing off. Hippie, as you're making your way, a horrible rending sound echoes through the tunnel towards you. Tridimus turns his blank face to look at you. I'm not quite sure what that was. Should we be concerned? What did you say?
I'll try to miss. All right, double time. And we trot.
Absolutely. And so he starts trotting, and it's interesting because he's made of metal, but he like almost has no sound of his footfalls. Just
we know he absorbs that kind of thing, so
right.
Or at least he did when he was in.
So yeah, you're not as surprised. So you are double timing it, and as you are running, you're not sure how long, but all of a sudden you watch as Tridimus comes to a stop and puts his hand out. It touches your chest, and you look, and you stop, and the tunnel ahead of you opens into a giant cave and just a kind of a ramp drop, not a drop off, but like a ramp down. That had you would have still been like booking it, you would have probably fallen and hurt yourself. In the distance, not too far, but far enough that it's not looming in the cavern. It's still kind of small. You see the wreckage of what appears to be a part of a space station or a ship or some other large piece of metal. On the side of it, written well enough to be probably 20 feet tall, you see the NEEC logo on it.
Adamus, what does that say to you?
Why, the words are written on the side of it say NEEC. I believe that's the logo, the representation that you have.
Yeah, just
Wow.
making sure.
Oh, certainly. Oh, I see. You were fearing that maybe you were hallucinating. I can confirm that you are not hallucinating. That is exactly what it says.
So was this one of the other colony ships? And if so, how did it get buried?
Well, I haven't had time to fully analyze the cavern yet, but I can make an assumption that perhaps the formation of this rock isn't in the same sense that yours is back on Earth. Sedimentary piles up over time, perhaps it crystallizes more. Think of like the inside of an amethyst, or excuse me, a diode, where it spirals in.
Still, we're supposed to get here first. Oh well, I bet I know where the rest of the guys are now.
Would you like me to scan for them?
Please. And you said it's kind of a ramp.
Yeah, it's like a. It's not tremendously wide at the point where you're at, but it kind of widens out like that.
We'll go ahead and start down the
Base, I
ramp.
would say. Yeah, it's not super treacherous if you're walking at a normal speed, but had you been, like I said, running full Skippy, then
Full Skippy. Full Skippy ahead.
yeah, that's the new nautical miles is. I'm moving it at 50 Skippies.
Will be once I establish my empire.
50 skip.
Exactly it. All things will be measured in Skippies. He's 2 Skippies high. That's too high.
Please.
Cut 'em in half.
I need to build this statue 35 Skippies tall. We're making an arc. It's 40 Skippies wide by
Oh my
70
God.
Skippies long.
I can just picture like computer programs where it's like, yeah, this is measurement in Skippies, and it's just like pictures of Skippies like copied and
It's
pasted.
just pictures of Skippies with the hat.
The hat is included in the height.
That's the apex of the hat. Is actually
That's
the-
why they use Skippy, because the hat is like the important part of the measuring,
So you measure a pile of something by its angle of repose. Objects of a certain type tend to fall in a pile the same way every time, whether it's grain, brick, whatever. So they always fall in a certain shape. And you can use the angle of repose, the bottom plus one side, to get the volume of like an object.
Mhm.
Will we use the angle of repose to get an idea of what the volume of Skippy is? Just base with the side.
What a pilot,
I
Skippy's
was
pilot.
How would a pilot? There could be only one, so it's just you with a sword lopping off heads. All right, so you make your way to the bottom. You see what appears to be rudimentary pens made up with some large-looking grub-like things. But where their heads would be round, you can see these long beaks that are segmented into 4 pieces that look like they kind of open like that. They seem docile. They don't seem to move too much. As you move further in, you see long spindle-legged creatures with long spindly arms, 4 fingers at the end of their hands. They do have thumbs and then like they seem to be a truncated torso with no neck, just this shape on the top of it that resembles their head. As you move in, there seems to raise some alarm. Tane and Quentin, you hear Quobble turn and look down towards the basin where they were all at, because this thing is up on like a part of a ridge. It's just jutting out of. You had to kind of climb up to it to get into where you're at.
Okay.
He looks down with concern at the basin where his people are sleeping or resting. And you can see several of them moving quickly. They're not running, but they're just moving with this weird lope towards the edge of the basin where you guys are located.
Everything all right down there? They look a little panicked.
You watch as they start to speak in sounds more than actual words. It's more like sounds, fragmentations of things. It sounds like a very complicated language to learn. However, you do hear several of the sounds, or at least what you think are several of the sounds. The pitch and the timbre may be different in each one. But he eventually turns and says, "They say strange one like you come."
Oh shit. All right. Yeah, that's kind of important. I think I'm gonna send Jackson to check it out. Right,
Hey.
Jackson? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go check it out. Be right back.
Good man.
Oh, by the way, you're a bastard and you owe me. And he starts to make his way down the edge of the. You watch as they seem to originally run away in alarm, but as you watch, several of them start to peer around the corner of small, mobile home, like mobile housing, like tents and teepees and things like that. Something that they can pack up and
Yeah.
redeploy. Skippy, as you watch, they kind of peer out, and you see that some of them move forward. You're not sure if they're older or younger. There's not really a determining factor on age, but you watch as some of them move closer, and they seem to start really paying reverence to Tritimus.
Tritimus, are these things in your database, your knowledge repository?
I can't say as they are, unfortunately. They appear to be familiar with me, though, somehow. Which is curious, because I can assure you, nothing in my information logs about them. And you watch as they come up to him and like Temple of Doom at the very end when through the crowd he's got the stones. And, the people are like touching his hands and stuff. It looks kind of like that. Some of them are starting to like come very close. You start to hear them make some kind of weird noises, like not like cooing, but it's almost like fragments of sounds, full sounds, just kind of this weird thing to it. Being who you are, it's actually, Quentin, this would probably appeal to you more. The sound that they were making, it's while not recognizing the sounds themselves, you know that one thing that ties all other things together in this universe is math. Math is found in everything, even in art. Math is there. And you realize that the pattern that draws you to it is the mathematics behind the language that they speak. It has its own meter and measure, and you recognize it quickly. You won't be able to speak it because you don't know what the sounds mean, but you kind of pick up on the pattern quickly.
Okay.
Kind of being good at picking up on little patterns and things like that quickly. All right. You watch as they kind of coalesce once more, Skippy, around you. Now they're no longer afraid. They don't seem to be paying you any mind whatsoever, but they do seem to be paying quite a bit of attention to Tritimus. You watch as... Go ahead, what were you saying?
I was like, I'm sure you're already doing it, but be analyzing their language.
No, yes, of course. This is interesting. You watch as a few minutes go by. You guys are still kind of making your way. Your movement slowed a bit, and you realize that a Marine dressed in the garb, the uniform, is coming towards you guys. It is Jackson. He kind of sees the omnipresent white hat of Skippy in the crowd. Just the hat is everywhere. The hat is sentient. You are Skippy host. Sorry,
About the little drama.
The true alien life form is the hat. It's just taken over you as a host. Just... All right. Jackson moves forward and asks, strange seeing you here. You all right?
So we came to find people.
You can blame your friend up on the ridge there. He was, I'm going to go down the hole. Next thing, down the hole. Big idiot. And the next thing you know, the little one's like, I'm not going to leave him alone. So the next thing you know, they're down the hole. And now we're all down the hole. Welcome to the fucking hole. Have you seen the hole? It's lovely.
It's very deep. It's very dark.
Yeah.
God.
And they got worms. Did you see the worms?
I saw the worms.
Yeah. Beaky things. They have acid. It makes them move through the crystals. Because that's what you want in a worm, you know? The ability to open its mouth, projectile acid, and eat whatever it comes across. It's a lovely benefit there. You tell them a bit angry right now. Oh,
thinking,
and don't
man, I wish
forget
I had
the
Tane
fuck old
right
big
now.
gift that we've got right over there. It's got our logo on it.
I noticed.
Someone want to explain to me how that has our logo?
Just got here.
Yeah.
You should be explaining it to me.
You see what I'm traveling with, right? You got the smart one with you.
Oh man.
Now.
It makes you feel any better. I got people wheeling an elevator, so it'll be easier for us to get back.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm stuck here with all the brains and not even the beauty of this thing. I mean, have you seen Tane? A little long in the jaw. Anyway, apparently the little one got into the shipping, brought out a data pad. They were able to get it booted for about all of a few seconds, and then it died on him. So
Quentin doesn't even deserve a name. Is just referred to as the little one.
Quentin has a chill run down his back. I feel angry for some reason. I don't know what it is, but
Pretty
I
good.
feel like just Jackson deserves a smack.
Probably refers to
don't-
the big one, so.
most of the time depends on how angry he is. Atlas is like frozen with the fist in the air. That's all I see is just Atlas going. "Rrr."
It's perfect. It's absolutely Tane.
Atlas wants to fight, but has to buffer.
Oh, I couldn't see anything. No one's voice or video was coming through there for like 10 seconds.
We
Oh,
just had
Well-
you frozen with your fist in the air. Like you're about to throw it.
I can positively say that was on your end.
Yeah, it was.
Well, no point in sticking here. Quentin and Tane will want to know what you got to say. So let's go.
All right.
Especially since you brought the robot with you. I have a name. Yeah. So does the little one, and I don't call him Quentin. I call him the little one. But it's not like a question if you know who I'm talking about, right? You have a point. As odd as that sounds. And so-
Not a good one, but you have a point.
At least you wasn't calling me the faceless one.
That's true. However, I did make Praetor without a face, so he could have been referring to either one.
no, Tane and I put googly eyes and
It's
a
kind of a
smiley tree face on him.
He's got
Okay.
Got the
really-
Marco, the Marx brother, like the Groucho glasses and mustache,
Yeah.
like
literally.
spirit taped on, so that it's constantly just. Why is everyone laughing? Why is everyone laughing?
Nah, sweetie, you're doing great.
It's like when
Keep
you
going.
put like you put a costume on a dog and they don't get it and they're just like running around like ah, and it's
Do you
like
want
"Ah."
robots to turn on humanity? Because that's how you get robots to turn on humanity.
Oh, babe. No.
Putting Groucho masks, fake mustaches on them.
It just makes you more approachable. I promise.
I'm sure because if I saw a robot walking down the street with no face, but clearly this disguise stuck on
I
it.
took the glasses but no eyes.
mean,
It's like
Yeah.
Person who moved to China and nobody would pet his pet pit bull, so he got him a little panda hoodie, and suddenly everybody thought he was the cutest dog ever.
fucking swarms the
Like
dog.
that with a robot. We need to get Tridimus
A panda hoodie.
Just get him a
a
onesie.
panda hoodie.
Just get him a onesie.
A rabbit onesie.
Aw, so cute.
And then that creepy mask from Donnie Darko.
Now.
Went over the cute down into the weird. All right,
Down
so
to the-
Jackson grumbles the whole way back. Tridimus is just taking in everything. You guys make your way up to the edge of this fallen piece of structure. Oh, the three of you are back together again.
I just want to say I appreciate that Jackson's willing to rib on me and Quentin when it's just the three of us, but when it comes to ribbing on us with the other guys, he's like, no, that's not cool. I can't fucking do that. That's like, it's a secret. But like what around us is just like, yeah, you're fucking idiot gay nerd. I appreciate Jackson. I love him very much.
Oh yeah, he will defend you to the death, but he's gonna
He's
give
my
you shit
real
the whole
ass
way there.
friend.
He's gonna give you
Alright,
lots of
alright.
crap, but he's gonna love you and
Oh
defend
fuck yeah, man.
you. All right,
Jackson and Tane, bros. For
like a
life.
Marine,
Fuck yeah.
honestly. The ship stands open. The door is pried by force. It is rusted and old. It's been sitting down here for you're not sure how long, but it is clearly not going anywhere. It's not even a full piece of a structure. It's like a part of a ship that fell off.
Does it look like the same model that the Praetor is?
No. Nope, definitely not. The Praetor was designed to be modular. This, you get the idea from the way that it is sheared and broken. This was not designed to be modular. This was designed to be an entire structure, and something happened to it.
Was there a scout ship sent here before the colony ships?
You could assume so, but you don't know. And given the size of this piece that you're looking at, you're thinking probably not scout ship. Just to give you an idea, Jason, a real life thing that's close to us, what's the smaller of the two rockets over by the Space Center? Is it the Titan II?
I don't know. Once you get past the Saturn V, I don't really remember their names.
Yeah. Well, the Saturn V is the big one that you can see from anywhere on 565. So it's not that one. It's the smaller one that's right next to it. I think it's the Titan II, but it's kind of the length of that.
Okay.
Well, not the entire length, like shaved off the top of it, where it's just the fuselage part. It's about the length of that. Laying here, kind of bent and just kind of aimed up. The width of it, because I almost said girth, why not? The girth of it is I would say it's easily between 80 to 120 feet across, so what a good almost 40 meters almost across it. So like the hallway itself is huge. I mean, it's just this big, well, not the hallway, but the width across this thing is just massive. But this doorway is an outer door that's in the side of the wreckage, and so it opens, and then you can step into it and like look up and down the hallway. Tridimus walks up and starts to look up and down the length of the ship. He puts one hand out delicately, one finger, and touches like the edge of the door, and then pulls his hand back to himself. What are you doing?
Anyway, still following. What's his face? What was the other Marine's name?
Jackson, you guys are all together now.
Oh, the entire group.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you done? What have you found?
What have you done?
What have you done?
What have you done? What did you do? Did you do this? Did you do this? No.
Your
I
fault.
didn't do jack shit. If you want to ask what anyone's finding, go ahead and ask Quentin. I haven't found anything except for a bunch of fucking idiots who came down here after me, even though I was doing just fine, Jackson. Anyway.
My decision to come down
All
here.
right, never mind. Quentin, what have you figured out?
You to acknowledge it was
Just
your
like
fault.
freaking- Oh.
But we still maintain the what did you do?
What did you do?
We're gonna find some way to blame this on you.
I
I just want you to
just
know.
opened the fucking door like Quentin asked me.
It's just
I just want you to know that I'll be the best character witness at your court martial. And he pats you on the shoulder and walks away.
I'm
there's a
I'm
hole
gonna
over there. We can
kick
just
his ass so hard they have to use it as a fucking rug, people. You hear me?
Hell's rugby.
That hurts my soul.
that
Alright,
hurts
just
my
want
soul,
Jackson
and
to
I'm
listen
playing
to
just a
Connie and goes,
baby.
Is he for real?
Another name for soccer.
You know what? It's fucking Americans.
Hold
is
me
what it
back.
is.
Hold me back. I'm gonna throw him.
I'm gonna
Hold me
throw
back.
it.
Right.
It's a pit to the left. Oh,
Tana just got
God.
knocked over her shoulders. Just
So,
we'll
You
teach
were asked
him
the question.
one-on-one what
Yeah, we'll just get like a colony rugby team going. Nobody
get-
knows what's happening. We've got
It'll
nobody
be
to
the-
play
just-
against.
No,
but
no,
hey.
it's just
Team
call it
versus
like it's
yeah.
the rugby intramurals for the colony.
Oh my god.
I can just see it. There's two teams. It's Jackson versus Tane. But neither
It's a
one of them
cool
are playing. They're
referee.
coaching the two teams, and it's just them constantly going, "No, you idiot! No, you idiot!" Oh, I quit.
It's
Throw
like,
it backward.
Nah,
Don't throw it.
ah, shit. Here. And
Scrum,
like every 10 seconds, they're
scrum.
like, no, step
Scrum,
aside.
you
We'll
put
show
your
you how to
hands-
play.
It's called a scrum. You put your hit. Never mind. I quit.
Well, then-
But then 10
You're not
seconds
getting
later
paid
they're
at all,
back.
Connor. I don't give a shit.
But 10 seconds later they're back because they realize that they saw the other one coaching their team and they're like, shit, I can't quit. I can't
Skippy's
lose to
"That
that
looks like a big
asshole."
football." Skippy's like, that looks like a bigger football.
That's like a bigger football. Everyone's just
He
like,
shows up with a cricket bat. We need this, right?
He's
Need
got the
this?
full-on helmet, cricket bat. We just look.
He like
Where did
shows
you
up
even
in
get
full
those?
gear and Tana and Jackson just
everyone's sitting there like, oh, well, that's a. Where the fuck did you get that?
Yeah, where'd you get a cricket bat from? Good question.
I carved it from a tree myself. Arts and craft program, right? Right, that's a thing.
And
I
then
just
Jason-
imagine that in
Then
Ron
Skippy's over there
Swanson's
teaching everybody how to play football.
Everyone's
American
having more fun over
football.
there. People slowly
voice.
trickle
Tana
in.
and Jackson are like, all right, so when do we get Saturdays? Like, put on your gear. A what? No, we got this.
I've got my shorts on. I've got my
Just
shoes,
ready to go.
and I got my shirt. We're good.
Battle and,
Oh wait.
and even the shirt
With
is
his
really
mouth
a
guarded.
good piece of the game. So,
All right,
Oh,
we're playing a game.
we
So-
are. and It's
rugby's the game now.
Yeah, we've
we're
just gone
playing
off
rugby now.
alone in the field. It's just now it's rugby. All right,
Now it's
so
rugby.
next your homework is to learn how to play rugby this week.
I know how to play already. Am I
Same.
okay? Actually,
We played together on our high school rugby team.
I almost broke my collarbone.
I got taken out of
I
every
am-
game due to some form of injury.
I want you to know that I am 6'1", and in high school I was 6'1" and 200 pounds. I would not want to play rugby against either one of you. I would be so terrified. Not because I would hurt you, but because of the damage you could do to me.
I mean, shit.
Actually.
There were girls your size, Cap, that couldn't take either of us down.
Yeah. Yes, the small ones is low center of gravities, man. I'm telling you.
Just go for above the knees. You'll get in trouble for below.
Oh God! And then like one of the coaches is like, "You got to lower your center of gravity," and I'm like, "Sir, my next step is laying on the ground. How much lower do you want me to go?"
Just
You're
like
like-
face on the ground running. That's how. Right there.
Like,
Just
I wish I
pushing
was kidding.
someone.
I wish I was kidding, but we were doing a
You know, like
coach
Magic
thing,
Hunt?
and it was like, he's just like, you need to lower your center of gravity, and I'm like really close to the ground. And I'm like, sir, how much lower do you want me to go here?
I mean,
My
any
next
lower, I'm
step is
taking a
laying
nap.
on the ground and falling asleep because you're boring me.
You're just clawing your way to the thing.
No.
I did that too.
So, you have a data pad, you have a Tridemus, you have a ship that's been unexplored. What are you doing?
Well, I know Skippy asked the question, so I'll at least answer that. I can't remember the year that we had the ship on though. What year we got? I pulled the year on the data pad, didn't I?
Wasn't it like 86?
1983.
Oh, see, I was thinking 88 for some reason. 1983.
88 miles an hour.
Maybe.
You gotta go back
I-
30 years.
Gotta go.
With
Oh,
your flux capacitor.
oh God, sorry. Actually, we have the Tridemus here. Can I plug this here data pad into the Tridemus? Is that a thing? Tridemus, can you power this for me right quick? Do you have an extension cord? Like, does he have like a little section that I can just like pop open the chest? And, like, stick
Just
the
pop it
data-
open and it's got like all the different auxiliary plugs. There's
Oh,
a
man.
USB.
Yeah. Do you have the right cord? Tridemus, you have extra cords, right? Yeah.
Oh, sure. They built right into my arm. Come on.
It's like, fart.
Just takes the tips of his finger off.
So
Different
Yeah.
plugs.
he becomes Inspector Gadget.
Yep, exactly.
Wait.
Wait, I got this. No.
Wait,
Right.
it's like this.
Wait, it's like his fingers just turn into something like this.
Yeah, exactly. He just pops one off. Here you go. No.
But but alternatively, because he was always asking to be able to interface with the Praetor on the ship, if he touches the data pad, he may be able to interface and give it some charge.
Some sort of Wi-Fi. Maybe.
So he takes the data pad from you. He kind of takes the pad, so it's not. Yours are pretty thin. This one's a little thicker. It's a little heavier. You watch as he takes his fingers around the edge of it, and you hear the pop and click as he tears the top part of it off. And then he takes a cable on it, and he pulls that out, and you watch as he kind of puts his hand against the edge of it, and he starts to work, and he kind of turns his head or shakes his head for a moment. And then he takes and replaces that cable and replaces the casing on the top of it. Pops it, you hear it click as it pops closed.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry to say that unfortunately there's not a way for me to interface.
Probably they're just too old of a model then. Okay. I guess.
Yes, that's it. Different model.
It's just
Right, yeah,
not enough.
that.
That. Okay, well that's just something we're gonna have to bring back to the colony then.
Do you mind if I explore the ship a bit more?
I'm very curious. Yes, I actually. Quentin's gonna go with him as he's exploring. Quentin's curious about the ship.
All right. Does anybody else want to go with him?
I'm going. Fuck yeah.
I'll go.
Okay. You climb into the ship. You can go across from where you entered in, like you kind of made your way through, is that door that is kind of part way open, like one half of it's open.
Yeah.
And it's where the bridge or that little bridge area is that you saw. If you continue up that path, it takes you back to the room that you found all of the data pads in. What would have been like an engineering or science bay of some sort.
Yeah.
It does go to the right. It goes down further in. It doesn't seem to be as well lit. Not that the whole thing is lit anyways, but
We have body flashlights. We're okay.
Yeah.
Like,
so which way would you like to go? Up to the left, down to the right?
well, we could always try going back to the engineering labs so that Tritimus can maybe see about doing something there. If everyone's down to do that.
You tell me.
Sure.
Everyone.
Okay, then back to the engineering bay you go. Fine, I'll make a decision for you.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, Quentin won't make that. We're going.
V, mute
Decision.
yourself. You're echoing.
Me?
You.
Wah. No. It unmuted. I fixed it.
There
Listen.
we go.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
No, you're
You
good.
make your way back up through the twisted part of the wreckage, Tritimus following carefully with you. You find yourself standing in front of the engineering bay. Tritimus looks around the room. You watch as his hands kind of pass over some of the tables and some of the other things. And he says, there's a possibility that I might be able to supply a small amount of power. But it will take me some time. Are you comfortable with staying here for a few moments?
I don't see why not. Nothing's really appeared in the ship yet besides the kobolds and us.
I would encourage you to maybe explore a bit more. See if there's anything else that we might find. While I work on this, no point in standing about idly.
Might as well. Have at thee, Tritimus.
Excellent. And you watch as he kind of... there's this large metal box. It's sitting towards the back edge of the room. It comes up from the floor about 4 feet, then has kind of a beveled edge, and then flattens out on the top and goes into the wall itself. You watch as he like pulls the door kind of off of it, and you see old wiring and things like that, wiring that hasn't been touched in years and decades, eons. And he just starts to carefully pluck and move things around. What about the rest of you? What are you doing?
I mean, I'm just like watching the general vicinity just in case there's any kind of anything, any kind of structural instability that might be, less than excited about what we're poking around doing.
Okay, so you're continuing kind of up from where you were?
Yeah.
All right. You continue to progress in that direction. As you watch, you see several other bays that are some of them closed, some of them open. Most of them have been picked clean. You did pass the area that had that the cantina or like the cafe or the cafeteria. That's what I was looking for, where everything kind of fallen off.
Mhm.
That was before you got to the engineering. But as you continue up, they kind of level off a little bit more, so that they're not so much climbing up, so much as you're walking kind of along one path now. You start to see doors with like little paneling or plates affixed to the sides of them. And as you brush them off, you can see like captain's quarters. You see others that have come up there like XO. And it has names written out there. Oddly enough, though, most of the names seem to have been like not rubbed, but like scratched.
Yeah.
So you can not really make them out.
Ominous.
Can we open the doors?
You can try. They're completely sealed, so you'd have to get something to put in there and pry them open. You can't put you in the middle of the pry it open.
I got 2 fists.
You just hear this ringing, banging sound as Tane tries his best to open the
I'm
door.
doing my best, like Super Saiyan punch.
Just punching the doors with all of his might.
Ah!
So just constant ring of boonk, boonk, boonk.
It's more like bunk ah, bunk ah, bunk ah.
What am I doing this for?
Yeah, it's not ideal.
I feel like you're gonna shatter your hand, and you're gonna come back to Nara with said shattered hand, and she's gonna shatter your other one.
It's fine. He knows how to wrap them.
You're just walking up like Deadpool with the T-Rex thing.
It's just like I'm gonna go take a nap now.
So you would have to have something to slip in there to kind of pry the door open.
Credit
Did he bring a
card.
crowbar?
You've watched way too many movies. Credit card.
Do we have any tools with us?
Some. A few. You might have a claw hammer or like some other kind of like a climbing hammer.
I'll ask around and see what we get. And a hatchet might work.
Yeah, and it just so happens that a couple of them do have a hatchet.
Try to use the edge of the hatchet to kind of wedge in between the.
Pop it in there. Sure. You a couple of the other Marines, along with Beth included, walk up, and Beth and
Insert other name here.
no, I forgot the other lady that was with you.
Oh,
It's gonna trouble me.
Uh-oh.
The other female Marine.
Team Marine.
They're actually the ones with the hatchets. They get them in there, and together you guys work.
Fuck yeah, girl power.
Give me athletics. I'll have Tane. Do you want to try this, or do you want Skippy to do it?
I'll try this.
All right, give you ahead and give yourself a +2. You're lucky they were helping. But yeah, you get the door open enough that you can kind of shoulder and squeeze in, suck it in, and make your way into the captain's cabin.
Is there bones at the desk?
No.
Oh.
Oh, damn it.
Any personal effects?
Yes.
Looking for a name.
All right. You see a picture of a bright looking young man, like bright as in like he's smiling, full of face. You see what appears to be a uniform on him, including the insignia for captain in the NEEC. But it you can tell it's new because he's holding in one hand the the graduation, like the commemoration plaque for it. He seems to be of Asian descent. The name shows up, or you can barely make out the name on there, but you don't need the picture because behind or beside or laying down on the ground next to where the picture was, things tousled, so things fell. You find the aforementioned
diploma.
Yeah, diploma, for lack of a better way of calling it. My brain is just not wording today. On it is the name of Maxwell Wong, W-O-N-G, Maxwell Wong. So there is the captain of this derelict vessel. There are no remains of humans in this room at all. Along with that, you find a couple of other things. You do find some handwritten notes. You know that most of your captain's logs are recorded digitally. You would expect probably they were doing the same thing, but you also find some handwritten notes along with the debris that's kind of fallen and collected in one corner of the room. You also find a dried inkwell and a tattered quill.
Damn, bitch was fancy.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Was it a hobby?
From what you find, like in the desk that's there, bolted down, so everything's kind of leaning to the right because everything's just kind of falling off that way. But you find in the desk, that's where you found like some of the parchment, some of the written stuff, and it's just you can see that he's writing. It's like a hobby. Yeah, you can tell that it's nothing fancy. It's just
Hardcore Harry
something
Potter
that he
fan.
practiced.
All right.
So what does his handwritten journal have to say?
Snooping.
He's dead. It's fine.
Yeah, it's already out.
No, you're assuming he's dead.
It was in the 80s. It's been like 100 years since that.
He
or
could
something.
be a whole old hermit in a cave.
No.
We don't know what this planet
Not been
does.
100 years. When you left, it's been more like over 400 years.
Yeah, he's dead.
I maintain my statement of you're assuming he's dead.
Maybe he's the big robot that Marilyn found.
Could have gotten fucked by the wormhole.
Sounds
So-
like the next Chuck Tingle novel.
Could have gotten fucked by the wormhole.
In my butt. Me, I'm out. B just nods. Oh, I see where this is going. Okay, I'm out. Hang on. Watch a man die on screen. See, it's gone now.
Sorry.
Not your fault. I did it to myself. All right. A lot of it is just randomly thrown together. It doesn't seem to have any date or time, and it just seems to be rambling on about nothing or inconsequential things. At least the first part of it. As you get to the latter part of it, he starts dating more of it, and you can see that it seems like he's really trying to keep track of what's going on here. And it starts off in a very nice, fluid, but very tightly formed words. Very good penmanship, and as you just kind of skim or flip through the pages, you can start to see the breakdown, and it becomes more and more erratic. The penmanship seems to lose a bit as it continues to progress. And by the time you get to the last few pages without reading them, just looking at them, you can see that he's writing quickly, just try to get the thoughts out onto paper. Looking back at the first entry, this is the memory of Maxwell Wong. This is so that the words I tell the computer may be lost, but these that are written down may not be gone. They may differ from what I have recorded. These are the truths behind what I feel, as opposed to the reports that I must fill out. I worry now as the station grows ever closer to the destination, its orbit being reached soon. The small planet that we circle seems to show minor signs of life, but nothing of intelligence. It is unique. Its nearness to our own is something to be marveled at. Its large storm head from even our space high above this orb. It is truly, truly a torrent of raw natural power, and it is to be revered. All right. I'm signing off for now. I'll write more as my thoughts are collected. The next few just talk about the day-to-day stuff that's going on. You do notice that he writes some things about raised aggression, people becoming more agitated easily and quickly. One entry that kind of catches your attention mentions, goes into detail. The men need not men. That's not what I wrote. The people on the ship need some sort of release. The station has many levels, and therefore, I'm not going to try to rout out every illicit gambling den, every little corner where they tussle to get out their aggressions. I think it's good for morale. Not to mention, I don't want to be seen as one of those captains who is an absolute teetotaler. I want them to have fun. I will step in, of course, if anyone's life is in danger, and I'll put it to rest. But as long as no one's being harmed, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's not like we get any proper away time. We're on a station. Where are we going to go? To the planet's surface? I'm sure that would be a death trap. Some of the scouts told about rain, or more appropriately, some sort of precipitation in large pink crystalline form that melted away quickly, almost like dry ice. It's truly a terrifying thing to think about when you consider the pressure needed to make something like dry ice. It's pretty big. They tell me the atmosphere is breathable, and we're excited about that. They said that they've sent several colony ships already. Who would have thought, all those years ago, that this is where we would be? It's truly, truly amazing. I'm starting to wax on. Anyways, I'll sign off for now. Might see if I can find some place to go play some poker. As you continue to flip through, it talks more and more about that, about the scouting ships that go down and come back. He then starts to go into some more detail. We had an emissary from the other planet who came to visit. Strange creatures they are. They never spoke directly to us, at least not with their mouths. It took us some time, but thankfully, we were able to finally communicate. The emissaries left after 2 months. Everybody was a bit relieved to see them go. I use the word relieved, for they were truly terrifying. Their race is one of competition. Not hostile, just competition. It was unique. They mentioned sort of a god figure that they worshipped, but that he had gone many years before. I hope we made a good first impression. I know it's my job as the captain aboard here to be that front man, but I feel sometimes that I'm not up for the job. I mean, I'm just Maxwell Wong. I'm just a guy from San Francisco. What do I know? I have this creeping feeling that something's not right, though. Like, even my thoughts when I sleep turn to strange things, and I worry. Meh, maybe it's for nothing. I'll see if I can dream tonight and write about it. You flip to the next entry to see if he actually had his dream to write about it. I dreamt last night that there were 3 figures that visited me. It reminded me much of the triumvirate from the old religion of Christianity, where they talk about the 3 figureheads, the Holy Spirit, the one they call the Father, and the one they call the Son. It was interesting because they all had their own forms. None of them were without form, but they were all very different. They were all terrifying, and yet at the same time, familiar. I didn't see what they were, or could tell how tall they were. In one moment, they seemed to tower above me. And then the next, they were so far away as to appear almost minuscule. And yet they seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. It was... I wouldn't say I was afraid. I was more intrigued. And a bit disappointed that I never learned more. Maybe that's what the dreams are for, though. Some kind of guide. I don't know. Maybe I'll see what happens tonight. The next entry is labeled 4 days after that one. And this is where you start to see the handwriting breakdown. The emissaries came back. They wanted to know more about our people and what drove us. There was a long conversation held. We learned about their plight, that they were no longer able to bear as many offspring as they once were. They asked, nay, demanded, that we help them settle this new planet, but we refused. For right now, it's untouched, unspoiled, and we'd like to keep it that way at least until our own people arrive. That might be a bit greedy of us. I don't know what the downside would be. He opened his mouth, and it was terrifying. Rows of teeth like rocks. I sent them away, understanding that we were not going to settle this, that this would be our new home. He said a word to me that I did not understand. He said Polis, excuse me. I don't know what that word is, but for some reason it filled me with dread. 5 days go by. This entry. There are words that are repeating. I don't know where they're from. One of them I've heard, Polis. 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 And you can see he's written it, and each time he writes it, it becomes more of a scrawl. And then he writes the word Uradan. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what that is. But like Paulus, it fills me with dread. Could they be two of the three figures that I saw in my dream? Well, whether they are or not, this is what I will call at least two of them. He finishes that one with one word. Tridemus. And it has a question mark. Five more days pass. And this time, the handwriting is even more rapid and scrawled. The people are starting to tear themselves apart. There's a madness seeping through all of them. We don't know what it's from, but they claw and fight. They've returned almost bestial. I watch them as they harm one another. Not everyone, but those that are infected or affected or afflicted. They say they do so in his name before they wreck their brethren. I fear I hear them pounding down the hallways. I've locked my doors, something I've never done before. I'm terrified. 7 more days. I understand now. We are here to be tested. This triumvirate of unknown forces, these aspects of something that we are not aware of. They called to me. At the same time, I am reviled and revulsed and revolted. And yet, inexorably I am drawn to them. I can't seem to put them away. I covet them, but I fear them. The engineering bay tells me that they have seen strange fluctuations in the power of the station. They don't know what, but something seems to draw energy away. I must find out more. There's only 2 days missing before you find that last entry. Energy drained. I'm not sure what happened. The station tumbling. We are all surely dead. The pods have been jettisoned, but I fear the worst. If anyone should ever find this, know that we were not the best of us. We were all monsters in the end.
Yay!
What's the last date?
The last date reads, it says EY, which you know represents Earth year, and the date was marked as December, and it had 1987. Sorry. The one thing that you will notice, though, is that it's 19, and then there's a dot, and then an 87.
Does that mean anything to me necessarily?
Not really.
Mm.
You do know that the way he wrote the date was not the good old American day, month, year, or actually the good old American 11/07/18. It was written the way that it should be, which is your day, your month, and your year.
carrying these notes with us.
Sure.
Oh, V, where do you want to go next?
Well, Quentin, where to now?
That was
Probably.
lovely.
Huh? Oh. Wait, I was there for the whole thing. Did I not stay with Tridimus?
I thought we all went exploring.
I thought you all went.
Then we all went. That's fine with me. Okay. We've checked that. We've checked that. I mean, there's the bridge, but the bridge just is a bunch of old bones. I don't know. Where else can we go? Forget. Sorry. I had to leave for a bit there.
All right. Well, you're right now. You're in the captain's cabin. There's
Captain's
the XO, and there's 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 a few other cabins in here before it kind of
mean, we
leads
can
off
check.
into more stuff.
Yeah. We can check the other cabins, but I'm sure there's probably not much we're gonna find in them.
Probably not.
I don't think this works.
As you go to lead, who's leading?
Tane.
Hi guys,
nominate
it's
Tanya.
me, the giant meat wall that protects you from everyone.
Tane, as you move towards the exit of the room, stepping from the shadows behind, back towards the engineering room where he was at,
Oh.
out of the darkness, Tridimus walks forward.
That's not ideal.
Did you find anything of interest?
Yeah, found the captain's journal.
What did you say? What did you say? I didn't hear what Skippy said. I didn't hear what you said, Jason.
I said we just found the captain's journal.
Oh, interesting. Anything of interest in there?
Oh, just his thoughts and dreams.
Mr. Electric, he's so much.
Managed to power up the data pad?
Oh, God.
I've worked up something with what they've had left that we should be able to power a small room or an area for a short period of time. Data pad for probably something a bit longer.
Okay.
I suggest we take it to the bridge.
Yeah.
Let's take this to the bridge.
Now I don't know if you said that as Tane or Atlas, but either way.
Either way, it's really great. But I want to say that Tane says that because he's like trying to lighten the mood, and so he just says some dumb shit sometimes.
The Tridimus
It's
just
just like
turns
everybody
blank
just kinda
face
turns.
to you and goes, I believe that's what I said, yes. Just turns
Right.
back.
Yeah, okay. Bridge, everyone. Let's go. God damn it.
Just like a pat on the arm, like it's okay. It was.
It's okay, sweetie. You make your way down to the bridge, picking your way carefully through the wreckage of this station. Nara. Jerry, the nice Texan, who is one of the council members.
Is he the one
Raps
that's
on
scared
the-
of me?
No, he's actually he's just a good old Texan boy. He's just a hard-working guy.
I know he's
Yes.
a Texan, but like I keep thinking of him as like being like a Texan stoner, like a cowboy stoner. Which the image of that in my head is very funny. I just
Matthew
want people
McConaughey?
to know that.
Oh God,
Yeah,
can he
sure,
please
I
just be
guess.
Matthew McConaughey?
There, he's cast.
Because
He's
Matthew
my-
McConaughey lives where? In Texas. Yeah. And he's a stoner.
We're just gonna cast our NPCs for whenever this is like.
Oh,
At
yeah,
least he
you
lives
know,
in
like-
Texas. I don't know if he still lives there anymore.
Like
It's
Ryan
like
Gosling,
people
the
used
Goat
to
Man.
do on their Wattpad fix, and it would like you'd have your like fan cast for everyone?
Ryan Gosling, the Goat Man, right?
Shut up! Pizza!
Sorry. Good.
Adventure Zone is good. Go listen to that also.
Yeah, agreeable. Agreement. Agreeable.
You are crazy. All right. So, you make your way carefully back down to the bridge. Tridemus.
Do I? I thought I had a
Here's the thing.
Texan rapping at my door.
Shit, yeah, I'm sorry. I totally got off track because of that. Thank you all for that's what I get for screwing up my notes. It's okay. Gary
I'm
raps
just
at
like-
your door.
I'm just like, I'm 90% sure I got a Texan at my door.
And you're
But,
not going to say no?
I mean, sure, okay, we can just go off on back to whatever they're doing.
Well, I thought we were just
Adventure.
fading to
No,
black.
Nara just shows up like, through a portal.
Hey
Gary
guys,
knocks
I
at the door.
fucking perfected time travel.
Whoa!
Hey, Doc, I was, you got a minute?
I have several.
Right on. So now I am making you Matthew McConaughey. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're doing
Yes!
that. Look,
I am an agent of chaos.
I hate to trouble you with this since you're pretty good about taking care of things around here, but I'm not sure yet, but some of the guys are acting a bit strange. I got this guy. His name's William. We all call him Willie. He's one of these guys that it takes 1,000,002 years to rile him up. And it seems like he's just snapping over the littlest of things lately. Now, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something going on and he just doesn't feel like divulging that information to me, but I don't know. I just figured I'd come to the closest source I've got that might be able to talk to a fella and say, hey, you mind having one of your folks check on him because he's a good guy and I'd hate to think there's something bothering him.
Of course. Interesting. You say that he's normally relatively mild-mannered.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
When did he start acting out, as it were?
Oh, probably about a day ago.
Okay. So this is very recent then.
Yeah, that's why I was.
Okay.
I wouldn't normally be concerned, but we're on a kind of a strange place, and
No, you're right to bring your concerns to the person who would be able to help you. I think perhaps then he should come in for a checkup.
I'll get right on that.
And he can either come in willingly, or I can have some of the security drag him in by his ankles. His choice.
I'll let him know that you have made him an offer that he should not refuse.
Reminding
Oh,
you, of
got it.
course, that this is for the well-being of everybody. If everybody is not of sound mind, then
Or I could tell him that Dr. Nara says get his ass down there, or she's gonna come after him herself. You do have kind of a reputation,
look, Kim.
which I appreciate.
Kim decided she was gonna come into my office, and well, it didn't end well for her. So
She's just cranky ever since somebody dropped a house on her sister. So
oh, so she's another one of those Wicked Witch of the West kind of deal. Good to know.
something like that. Yeah, she gets catty over shoes. I mean, she is, after all, the one to be helping us with our culture.
Ugh, God, I want nothing to do with her.
So when I brought
culture.
up the greatest musician of the 20th and 21st century, Mr. George Strait himself, she balked at me. I was a bit offended.
You have every right to be.
Well, I appreciate it. Anyways, I'm going to go. Thank you for your time.
Of course, send him as soon as possible.
Sure thing. Hey, Doc.
Yeah?
Maybe that's why I miss Park so much, so messed up. Maybe there's something here in the environment set her off. Who knows? Maybe she was a sweetheart at one time.
Somehow, I highly doubt that.
Me too.
Not that woman.
Yep, me too.
You
All
have
right,
yourself
Doc.
a good
Thank
day.
you. And he makes his way out. Now, back to the ship. You pick your way carefully back to the bridge. Tridemus has already brought in some pieces of equipment. You see wires. You see feeding from a couple of different boxes that seem to go into this large centralized round. It looks like some kind of heads-up display. It's a round, like flat table. And it's got a little display screens in it and stuff. He starts to finalize connecting some pieces, and he says, "Might I have the data pad?"
Yeah.
Thank you. And he takes and sets it kind of on one of the boxes, and you watch as he pops that off again and starts to rework and wire. There's a pop sound, a very familiar pop and sizzle of something being soldered together. He stops and pulls his hand away. There, I think we're ready. Huh? Prepare to either see your past or your future or some other weird known expanse. Who knows? He walks over to one of the small boxes and he takes a couple of the wires, and looking like he's hot wiring something, you watch as he strikes it, and then he takes and holds them together in his hand for a second. There's a small hum that emanates from him. You watch as the data pad spins to life and powers up. Along with that, the screens that are on the table come to life. And you now have access to the data pad as well as the bridge's main computer. So, what would you like to do, team?
I want to go look at their maps if I can pull any up instantly.
Certainly
Please. Maps. Just like not even saying anything, just like walking towards them.
They are very familiar. They show this planet. They show the neighboring planet, the hot Jupiter that exists within the belt here. Dual suns that feed each other and seem to constantly be in, this perpetual state of like a stalemate, a universal stalemate. You also see looking kind of like someone did a rough sketch drawing of it. You see what appears to be not a small station. It's a small space station sitting in orbit above the planet that you recognize as the one that you are currently on. You also see that along the station, it has several outer docking doors, much like the one that you pried open to get in here. you see what appears to be several different options. What would you like to look at? Crew? Not ports of entry, but damn it, my brain just went blank again.
Would it be like door access log or something?
It's like, no, it's, yeah, basically like a docking log.
Yeah.
You also notice that it has several lanes of traffic mapped out from this station to other points. There are various others like maintenance logs and things like that.
So
That's on the
okay.
data pad.
Okay. I want to look over some of the crew really quickly. There's probably no names we'll actually recognize. Actually, before any of that, their mapping would have shown the path they took, right? Is it the same one that
This
we ended up
station
taking?
was, but it seems to come along looking through the data pad. It is not the same path that you took.
Is it one of the paths that were like originally chosen for us?
It looks like it was one of the other known paths.
Okay. So there's at least some resemblance there, but
Mm-hmm. Like I
okay,
said, the ship's computers are available to you.
yeah. Can we pull up any of their like old camera feeds? Would any of that be broken, or would they have even had that? I guess.
You can try to see if you can find it. You can give me a computer roll, but you're looking at probably a -2 on your roll.
Oh, what? Whoa.
Because you don't know how it's organized. You're not sure if the file system and structure is going to be the same.
You know what?
You're not even sure if it's the same operating system. You're talking about the difference between DOS and Windows 3.1 to Windows 10. Do you know how different that is?
Yeah. I'll still give it a shot. What do you want me to roll?
Computer? Do you have computer electronics?
That I have.
That I was trying to remember what the word was.
A -2, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
You're not sure how they're structured in here, so it's not like you're trying to find the secret file where all the porn is hidden. You search through and you're not able to find anything. Or at least nothing that looks like it would be like a .au file. Or
Okay.
That's Audacity for those of you who don't use that.
Oof. Okay. I guess I'll look over the crew logs.
Okay.
Quick.
The staff and crew numbered close to about 1,200. So this is like a small town.
Okay.
And they had everything. They had somebody running the PX. They had somebody running the, the cafeteria staff. They would seem to swap out certain jobs, but pretty much everything was detailed down to the last bit. Is there any particular crew members that you would like to look for?
Probably just who the main couple crew were, like the heads
Sure.
of department.
Like the department heads? Okay.
Yeah.
You see the captain still listed as Maxwell Wong.
Okay.
Which you can see there's a profile picture of him. While you saw the young man, yeah, just V.
No, not me. No, it's just like somebody like.
You see where you saw the young man excited about his journey that he was going to take in.
Yeah.
This is a man that's in his middle age, probably in his late 40s, early 50s. His hair is still black and still well trimmed, and he seems to be well taken care of himself. The very faintest signs of wrinkles starting to appear, where mine are, right around here.
Smile wrinkles.
But he seems very distinguished.
Okay.
That's the captain. The XO, or the second in command, is a man by the name of, man. I wrote it out now that I was. No, I didn't write Roger Walters, not Roger Waters. My brain read it as Roger Waters. I was like, what? Walters is the last name, but it's Roger.
Roger Walters.
Yeah, which isn't much better. You can you see him standing. He's a black man with gray hair, but he's wide, broad-shouldered, and kind of just a big guy.
Okay.
The medical officer and head of the medical office is a man by the name of Heinrich. I can't read my writing. Hang on. Heinrich Mason. I was like, what the hell did I write there? Heinrich Mason, Heinrich Mason. Mason. Blonde haired, very Norwegian. Very Norwegian looking. The security officer was named, let's see. Pamela Essey, Esseesee. And the first name was Pamela. Shows a picture of not a very pretty woman, but very good at what she would do. Imagine Liam Neeson with kinder eyes and a slightly less crooked nose. Still crooked, just slightly less crooked.
Just picture Liam Neeson, but as a lady.
Yeah, pretty close. You the science officer, head of the engineering and maintenance and everything else like that, is a it's a unique, it's just listed as Kelly, and the last name of Rison, Risson, Rison. And the picture of Kelly does a very good job of keeping it androgynous. Who else we have? We have security, medical.
If you're going through the regular 6, you're just missing navigation.
Nah, that's it. Let's see.
It's just a Quentin clone.
Yeah, it's just
Quentin's
you.
now staring at himself. He's like, I gotta go.
No, it's a young lady. And hang on, let me find, because I gotta find my notes again here. There it is. Excuse me. Emily Crane. Crane. Emily Crane. She seems to be sharp cookie from the picture, but then again, maybe you're just biased because it's a navigational.
She looks absolutely perfect at what she does.
Yep.
I don't know if she did well, but she top notch navigation.
Yep.
Right there.
All right. So that is the primary 6 there.
Okay. I'm just gonna make the note to remember that, just in case something comes up later. Is there any notes? Not notes on them specifically. Oh, I lost my question now. Nope, that's gone. I forget what I was gonna ask. Uh-oh.
Is there anything in particular you were wanting to find out about one of the officers? Anything in particular you want to find out about their location, where they came from?
That's true. Maybe I should. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'll look up where they came from, I guess.
This
Wait.
you'll find is no. They
Yeah.
came from.
Okay, sorry.
They
Go.
came from Earth. I know that's a shock. That's the reveal. This
Earth.
Earth.
Earth. What? Where? No.
Goddamn Earthlings! Not in my campaign.
None of us are actually Earthlings. Surprise. God.
You're all petri dish grown.
Explain some things.
That would explain a lot of things, wouldn't it?
Oh God.
What are you doing? You've got the data pad and the computer in front of you.
That on the computer. So I couldn't find the camera feed because that's that. I looked up the maps. It was basically the same thing that we took.
There were a few different ones though.
That's true. There were different ones that weren't the same. Can't think of my words. That wasn't the same of any of the past that like we could have taken, kind of thing.
Correct. Hence the word different.
Different. Listen here.
Love you. As I just sit there in front of you. No, no, come back. Don't leave.
Navigator out.
Fine, find your own damn way. I don't care.
Gonna go back into the forest and live in the fucking weird alien forest.
Yeah, a kitty.
Gonna be the hermit on the edge of the camp, on the end of the place that we live. These words are
living on the edge of
apparently
your
right now.
living on the edge of civilization on your own.
Yep.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Might be getting to the end of my rope.
That's all right.
You're just trying to show off the cat.
I am. She's me now. You guys don't get to see my face. Just this cat.
She's
Except
perfect.
for your nose and mouth and chin.
She's just so content. She's that,
Look
or
at the
just
little
like
tail going. All right.
plotting the demise.
What else would you like to look at? Skippy, is there anything you'd like to look at? The computer's yours.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Tane, is there anything you'd like to bang around on?
No, he's just like walking around. I don't know if you saw my message in the Discord, but he's like walking around, kind of running his hand over stuff, just like, what the fuck?
I want to see how much history on the oh, what are we? The NEEC?
Yeah, NEEC.
I just want to pull up whatever history they've got.
Sure.
Starting from, we'll say, the 60s when the space race started. Up till this year.
So, history is a little different. You were expecting the first man on the moon in 69?
I don't know, 69.
Sounds great. You were expecting the space race to be found here and there, but it's not that way. It's not a race, it's a collaboration. There aren't global powers. There are global powers, but there seems to be one, like, more unifying force. And you see, they talk about disarming weapons to develop, early versions of FTL that would allow them to get to Mars. You see things that were written about miniaturization happened, 30, 40 years before what you would have seen it and expected it. You're starting to see things that were like commonplace an hour now happening in the 60s and 70s.
Run further back and try to find out where.
Sure. Where do you think history would have taken a divergence where there would have been a lot of technology developed quickly and then the information would have been shared? I think I saw you smile behind your hand.
Where would that have happened?
Industrial Revolution.
Right, the captain was from San Francisco,
Partly.
so you've at least had it happen. Otherwise, the names probably would have turned out the same.
In
I
the
don't know,
lab?
after World War One, the League of Nations, maybe?
Yes. It's around the time of what would have started World War II on our timeline. There's a distinct difference. There was no rise to power of the nationalist group. So, what there was, though, was a communication and translation of information. So those things that were worked on, atomic power, fission, fusion, they were worked on from a place sorry, like I said, I think I'm getting to the end of my rope there. They were worked on from a place of peace, realizing that they could get so much more accomplished. They came together, the major powers came together to... Is your cat biting you? I went down.
No. She did like a backflip and was grabbing the side of my desk and like pulling herself. I'm like, please continue.
So their money wasn't hindered by trying to support a war, but they still worked towards the development of rocket power, while we worked towards the development of nuclear power. There were huge science, basically, for lack of a better way of saying, science fairs like world trade fairs or world fairs, where they would just come together and they were just big tech centers and information was shared freely. You see that there's a marked change in our history in a couple of other places as well. So where we have there in some multiverses, there was there's a world where Hitler won and the Axis powers succeeded and, the world falls into their boots. This is one where there was no World War II. The atrocities of World War I turned stomachs of everyone. Realizing that we could do this to ourselves so easily, yet we could take that same drive to kill and turn it to better. Leading the charge on this, and his name appears in the first parts of the history several, and you can't help but see it, is a name. The man's name is Tim Marshall. Tim, and his last name is Marshall. Tim Marshall.
Wow, that bears kind of a weird resemblance to the name Tridemus in kind of a weird way. Not like that's related or anything. It probably isn't. It might be though. Is the
It's just a
thing,
name.
'cause- But what if it is the thing? Because like Tridemus, Tim Marshall, who knows? Knowledge repository. Makes you think. Anyways.
Sure. You can see that his work on the humanitarian effort, as well as developing several projects to better human life, went into processes and long standing things to keep, basically to put that we're all of the same race, that we're all humans, that the color of our skin is merely a margin of a uniqueness between each one of us that identifies us as an individual. That our collective stories aren't disjointed by whatever tribe we claim ourselves to be, but more along the lines of it's a collective story of we as a human race. And people got on board and they raised him to a state of power he didn't want, but it was kind of one of those things where he was touted in such high favor. But you can see with his help and with what he started, the leaps and bounds in technology that were stymied for years. There was no Cold War. And there's a part of it it's not glazed over so much as it's vaguely done concerning faster than light travel. The early versions of FTL. And it's just below the sub FTL. Or I should say it's sub FTL. It's not quite faster than light. They go on to talk about the first colony on Mars. Terraforming. In the 70s, they had their first excuse me. In the 70s, they had their first jaunt to the edge of our solar system and back, taking them almost no time at all. Oddly enough, the conflict in Vietnam was still, but it did not go as horrendous as before. The last mention of Marshall is of him at the launch and test of the FTL travel engine they had. The date on it was set for 1976. After successful testing, they were actually able to get FTL travel. In 1978, 8 vessels were launched. It says, unfortunately, that Mr. Timothy Marshall never got a chance to see them because he had passed away. But this almost seems to be written like a biography of history, but as well as him in it.
Yeah, pictures of him.
It does.
Videos and talking.
He looks like he looks a little bit like, oh gosh, I know you've seen it. Was it Star Trek First Contact? The gray-haired old man.
Oh, the one that invented the warp drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like him. Because one, I love that actor. I'm sorry.
How dare you be sick?
I know, right?
Absolutely unacceptable.
Anyways, I love that actor, and what I mean, he just did such a great job in that. I loved his part in that. But we're gonna go ahead and say though that as you guys are looking at victory, one of the last things it shows you is the picture of Tim on his deathbed. Beside him, it shows a figure. It's not like touching him or anything, it's just standing off to the side. But it shows in the caption of the picture the last few days of Dr. Timothy Marshall with family, and you see several people around there. And it says, and his first attempt at AI.
I fucking called it!
Well,
And with that revelation, we are going to go ahead and close for the night.
Timothy fucking Marshall!
Are you okay?
I think you need a minute.
Are you okay?
I hate playing a dumbass! It's fine, I'll just die or whatever.
no.
You're the one that made him this way. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, but like, shut the fuck up.
I feel like I should be upset at that commentary, but I'm not. All right. I want to thank Maddie for hosting again, as always. I want to give a big shout out to Atlas, who plays the dumbass. V, our little tiny navigator, and Jason playing Skippy. Thank you all so much for watching and hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate it. I apologize for cutting it about an hour short, but man, I'm just wrung raw. So we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. We'll be back on Monday with Foundations of Adelar. And I apologize if you missed this last Monday, but again, I was sounded even worse than what I do now.
He truly did.
I had no voice, like whatsoever.
But just to preserve what's left of your voice there, Cap. Thank you very much to Kaora. Hope I didn't butcher that too badly, but thank you very much for the raid, and the lovely people you brought over to the stream. Yes, the game is loosely based off The Traveler, but it is a home-brewed campaign. As our DM can attest when his voice is better, to the entirety of the civilization that he created in an Excel spreadsheet. So, with that being said, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We will, of course, as he said, we'll be back Monday. If fantasy's not really your thing, you prefer the sci-fi thing, we'll be back here next week at 6 p.m. EST till 9, and Monday night from 7 till 10 p.m. EST. Until then, have a good one, and be good to each other.